and welcome to US Tzu Chi 360. I'm Dimas, and our team couldn't imagine a better way than to celebrate Tzu Chi USA's 25th anniversary than by bringing you here to San Dimas, California. It's the headquarters of all 9 Tzu Chi chapters, and today I'll take you on a brief tour of the city, the campus, and introduce you to some of the people that have made these mountains here their home. So as we celebrate the new year, join me as we celebrate 25 years of Tzu Chi in the United States. Right in between the San Gabriel and Bueno valleys is San Dimas. And while the LA County Public Library mentions its name used to be Mud Springs in the 1800s, this sunny city has come a long way since then. And who better to share more than San Dimas' very own Mayor, Kurt Morris. So what a pleasure to have you with us, Mr. Morris.
Thank you very much.
So Mayor, you've spent most of your life here. So what can you tell me about some of the significant changes that have happened in San Dimas?
Well, when I first came here 70 years ago, this was a community of 1,800 people, population. It was almost entirely agricultural. It was citrus groves with primary livelihood. So we had a very, very small little town. Now there are no more citrus groves. We have about 35,000 people, and we're still fairly rural because we have the mountains to the north, and we have the Benelli Park, and we have the canyon area where the Tzu Chi Foundation is located that are very rural. So we've maintained a lot of that, but we have accommodated a lot of growth as well.
And so, because there's been significant growth, how do you feel the city has been able to accommodate that?
Well, we have used, I think, very good planning for residential planning. Our city is now pretty much built out, and we're building more condos and higher density now. Probably in the future, any residential developments will be higher density than we traditionally had in the past.
Living here for over 70 years and having been on city government since 1980, what makes you so dedicated to your hometown? And also, what would you say to encourage someone to visit your part of the world?
Well, I've always liked this town. I grew up here. I sort of accidentally moved back here after I finished my college education. But I just like this community. It's a great, very welcoming community. I owe a lot to a lot of people who helped me in innumerable ways as I grew up, and I think it's a privilege to be able to try to help other people.
Let's talk about the Tzu Chi Foundation's headquarters here in San Dimas. What's your relationship like with them?
Oh, very good, very good. I think it was a good fortune for San Dimas for them to choose the location of the old Voorhees Boys School, and it was a perfect fit for a great location. The classic old buildings and everything that they've restored and brought back to life, and a great organization. We've had a very good relationship with them.
You mentioned good fortune. So how do you feel about an organization with foreign roots planting its headquarters here?
Activities that we have in the community, they're almost always represented here in some way. I have attended some of their events on their campus. I'm very impressed with an organization that has the tremendous breadth that they have, which is totally serving people. That's a wonderful organization, and all of the people that I've met who have been affiliated with Tzu Chi really exemplify that.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us, Mayor.
You're welcome.
So now let's go take a look at the campus itself. I'm here at Tzu Chi's U.S. headquarters, formerly the site of the Voorhees School for Boys, later part of the California State Polytechnic University. And here to walk us through the transition from university to spiritual abode is Natalie Lopez from the Cal Poly Pomona University. So thank you very much for being here with us, Natalie.
And thank you for having me.
So I wanted to know, how did the Cal Poly and Voorhees Association first begin at this campus, and why did the institution decide to relocate?
It all began in 1928 when Charles Voorhees had purchased this entire land. His son Jerry Voorhees had studied at Yale University, and he had studied working class America, and he had a soft spot for underprivileged education, especially the underprivileged boys who were in need of an education. And so their mission was to purchase the land, 157 acres, and Jerry Voorhees became the headmaster of this campus.
And so why did the university decide to expand or change?
Well, at the time, 1938, when this campus was actually given to the California State College system, at the time there was a need because there were only 3 majors on the campus: agriculture, horticulture, and citrus production. And at the time they wanted to expand the agricultural education or agricultural major.
So Natalie, I also wanted to ask you, what are some of the highlights of the campus?
My personal favorite is the Voorhees Chapel. A lot of the choir practice was conducted in the Voorhees Chapel, the Glee Club, and it was said that the national anthem was played many times, especially during ceremonies. And it was also where a lot of students had actually said their I do's in the chapel, a very sentimental value, and especially just the way it's architecturally a wonder. It's California mission-style architecture meets British Parliament. As Charles and Ella, who otherwise known as Charles Voorhees and Mrs. Charles Voorhees, there were 2 dormitories on this campus named after them. The Aunt Nell Dormitory, also called On Nell, the dormitory where some of the students were residing, as well as Uncle Charlie, because again, these were underprivileged students, and a lot of them didn't have the fatherly or motherly figures, so they actually saw them as motherly and fatherly figures.
So in the sale of a property so large, what are some of the major fears in switching hands?
As an archivist, librarian, and historian, I would have to say protecting the history and the mission of our original founding fathers, and continuing that tradition of protecting these valuable architectural, historically valuable, true to the Voorhees School for Boys. I would have to say definitely maintaining the integrity of the property.
So how touched are you by what the Tzu Chi Foundation has done with the place?
I'm very moved, actually. They're promoting Buddhist education, and it's a nonprofit organization, and that 75 years later, you can still see that the architectural elements and the historic value are still present, especially in the presence of, in the spirit of Charles and Jerry Voorhees, that education has continued to be being promoted on the premises.
Awesome, and thank you very much.
And thank you.
Now let's see how Tzu Chi has made this space their own. And now we're at the San Dimas campus, where behind me, you'll see the Jingsu bookstore and cafe right alongside the Buddha Hall. And in the other buildings you'll see around campus, aside from the dormitories, you'll find the administrative offices, the charity, education, and humanistic cultural departments. And tomorrow morning, we're going to go to the auditorium, where a prayer service will be held for the participants of the 24th year anniversary. We're here now on the campus lot, and it's just past 5 a.m., and it's a little above 40 degrees Fahrenheit. The people you see gathered here this morning are here to offer their sincere praises and prayers to the Buddha in a ritual best described as a sort of pilgrimage. The participants, in some sense, will take a total of 100 minutes to migrate from one designated point to another. And the process goes like this. They will each take 3 steps forward, and then they prostrate on both hands and feet, with their foreheads touching the ground 156 times. All the while, they will chant the names of the Buddha. And why practice this intense ritual? According to the Buddhist monk Clark Scott, chanting is a rhythmic vocalization of prayer. Its purpose, along with the practice of prostration, is to purify 3 elements: speech, action, and thoughts. By chanting, you're purifying your speech. By bowing, you're disciplining your body. And by contemplating the Buddha, you are cleansing the spirit. It is said that the constant practice of this sport makes one's spiritual health strong. This Buddhist practice is meant to lead those who follow it to the path of the Dharma and to keep one's intention on the right path. Yet no matter how long it takes and no matter how much it rains, never stray. As you saw, there's a big crowd here at headquarters this week. They've all been housed in the dormitories on campus and will be following a tightly packed 3-day schedule. The crowd includes volunteers from all over the U.S., ranging from the Atlantic coast to the Pacific one, and they're gathered here to partake in the year-end festivities. They include lectures with volunteers who will share their experiences with peers. The goal? To share the universal spirit of Tzu Chi through local examples, one of whom we will meet later. But first, let's meet with the CEO of Tzu Chi USA to learn more about the annual camp and about Tzu Chi's transition into the digital age. So now I'm joined by Han Huang, the Chief Executive Officer of the Tzu Chi Foundation here in the U.S. 谢谢你来上我们的节目.
Thank you so much.
So I wanted to know, what's the purpose of the 24th annual year-end gathering, and why do it here in San Dimas?
I think for all the anniversaries, we would like to invite all the Tzu Chi volunteers to come back home. You know, this is a headquarters for the Tzu Chi in the United States. However, it's also a spiritual home for everybody. So not just for this year, I think we would like to do it every year and keep it a tradition.
And so, do you feel like it's a challenge for many of the volunteers who come from so many far parts of the States?
Yes. I think especially during this past few years, because of the economic situation, some of the volunteers, they really had a difficult time. But we also trying to broadcast through the internet. And, you know, if any volunteers, they couldn't come here, they could actually try to join us through the internet.
And speaking of using digital resources, you're now working on a bamboo bank app.
Yes.
So what can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I think we thought about that idea maybe a year or 2 years ago. You know, I think bamboo in Tzu Chi is a very important symbol, and because that's how it started about 48 years ago, and come to this kind of electronic era. So I do believe that on top of the traditional bamboo bank like this or this, doesn't matter, I think it's good to have some kind in your iPhone or Android phone. And, you know, right now there are so many people that actually have that and enjoy it playing it. So we started the program maybe a few months ago and tried to digitize it.
Or what are some of your hopes for the app?
Okay, we do hope that we could use this kind of digital technology and expand the bamboo spirits, expand the Tzu Chi spirits to as many people as we could. And hopefully there'll be a lot more people that would join us electronically. The idea is very simple. You can set your goal, and you can set the amount that each time you donate. For example, I set the goal now $30, and each time I donate is $1. So once that's set, you can start to play the bamboo now. Each coin here will means $1. Yeah. So what you do is you just drag this in here, and it will show you some of the master's words here, the Jingshi aphorism. So after you do that 30 times, so now you reach the goal, right? What happened is this app will take you to a donation page automatically when you reach the goal. And you can now decide to donate it through the internet. And we are going to present it to Master next week. And we will invite her to be the first user to kick off this app for everybody.
And so this will be available for international download?
Yes.
And among different currencies as well?
But however, in terms of donation, right now it's only for United States. But
you are making the template for everyone else?
Yes, exactly. You know, that's not so difficult. Everybody, all the countries could have this template. It also has some of the Tzu Chi introduction, 360, of course. I will tell you something about the Tzu Chi, how Tzu Chi started, how the whole bamboo bank started, because I think this is one of the most important story and most touching story in Tzu Chi.
So what are some of the other?
Yeah, we also have, see, this is Jingshi aphorism. The background is a nice lotus flower, and these are the master's teaching on top.
So does a different aphorism appear every time you insert a new coin?
You can go to this Jingshi aphorism, and you can just touch it.
So it's a bamboo bank and then some.
Yes, and wisdom combined.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for showing that. And
thank
congratulations.
You so much. Yes,
Good luck with launching the app next year.
Thank you so much.
And now let's turn to Colin Legerton, who is the editor of Tzu Chi USA, to see how he is trying to reach a broader audience too. And now I'm joined by Colin Legerton, the man who runs the show here at the Tzu Chi USA Journal, to learn a little bit about what he does for the publication. So thank you very much, Colin, for joining us.
Thank you, Dilbar, for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So what can you tell me about what you do here as senior editor?
Well, a large part of what I do is putting together the Tzu Chi USA Journal every 3 months. And as an editor, I'm also able to get involved in a lot of different projects, especially things that are in English.
So what kind of content do you usually like to publish in doing the journal?
Well, in the journal, we really try to show all of Tzu Chi's 4 missions and really share a lot of volunteer stories and sometimes stories from care recipients and people from other organizations who work with Tzu Chi who are willing to tell us about what they do and what they gain from their involvement with Tzu Chi projects.
So what are some of the major challenges that you face in putting, let's say, the average issue together?
We really want to show the whole breadth of Tzu Chi all across the country and through the different missions. And so sometimes it's a little bit of a challenge to find things that show off everything that Tzu Chi volunteers are doing and to reach out and find people who are willing to take the time to sit down and write those stories to share with us.
You had mentioned that you had lived for a while in mainland China. So being able to use your Chinese language skills, aside from that perk, what else draws you to working with the Tzu Chi Foundation?
Well, in large part, it was because I had studied Chinese in the past that I found Tzu Chi. I was looking for an opportunity where I could use Chinese so I wouldn't forget everything. So I'm very fortunate that that brought me to Tzu Chi. And Tzu Chi is largely still a Chinese-speaking environment, so it's very wonderful to be able to communicate with everyone, not only our volunteers here in the U.S., but in other countries as well, and to be able to read the reports and help translate things that are coming in Chinese and to share those with more English speakers. We also want to make Tzu Chi accessible and available to even more people, just like 360 is doing by having content in English.
So, Colin, can you tell me, how can you encourage other people to bring that same passion, especially younger writers, perhaps, to contribute to the magazine?
The younger volunteers, we see a lot of people who are very passionate, very active. Our communities are already sharing their stories on blogs, on Facebook, and different places. We always try to have at least a couple contributions from younger volunteers in the journal we call the Young Bodhisattvas. And I hope through having those and other contributions through the journal that even though the magazine maybe you can see as kind of an older format, an older medium, even though we have all these wonderful digital ways to share things as well, there's still a lot of occasions on which Tzu Chi volunteers are meeting face to face with people in the community.
So best of luck with your work on the journal.
Thank you.
And now on our last stop, we'll go meet a few members of the Tzu Chi Medical Foundation, which has just celebrated their 20th anniversary this past November.
Thank you, everybody. And I think this is a great time for me to say thank you to all the support, all the volunteers, professional volunteers, Tzu Chi volunteers, and all the foundations and organizations that are out there that have been helping Tzu Chi for 20 years.
Now I'm joined by Dr. Eugene Tao, who's here from the Medical Foundation. Welcome, Doctor.
Hi.
So I wanted to know, what is the significance of today's event?
Today it's a 20th anniversary formation of the free clinic. We used to call it the free clinic when we started. Now we transform it into a Buddhist Tzu Chi medical center. And today is our birthday.
We're going to celebrate our medical 20s. This is our 20 years, since 1993, November 1st until now. So you are part of our family.
I thank all you Tai Chi clinics that go out and serve us that are low income and we can't afford. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be able to get my diabetes medicine. Thank you very much, and may God bless you.
Thank you, Tzu Chi. I heard that many of the patients have brought their bamboo banks with them.
Yes.
So what is the significance of the bamboo banks here today?
Every time we go out to the clinic, we introduce the bamboo bank to our patient. And then this is their way of expressing thanks to us because they don't want to freeload. Whatever they can contribute, they wanted to contribute. And today is the time for the bamboo bank to come home. And these patients bring their bamboo bank, whatever that they put in there, and they bring it here, and we collect them. And this money will go to the care of these people.
I think for this bamboo here, it's a very important spirit in Tzu Chi, and I don't think I need to explain too much. However, today, I would like to present you a wonderful, great news. The e-bamboo is here.
So what do you feel are some of the major accomplishments of the Medical Foundation?
Well, we have seen a lot of patients in the last 20 years. And when we started it, we saw a lot of Taiwanese people. And at that time, people who has no insurance, who has no job. And now, I think we almost have a 50-50 split between the Chinese and the Hispanic. And on top of that, we have a few blacks that come in for care. And then also quite a number of white European people that came in. I think we have accumulated over maybe 270-some patients in our clinic with diabetes. And also, we started a program called Walk with the Doctor. And this is to invite anybody.
Well, aside from the physical fitness, what would you say are some of the major challenges of the Medical Foundation?
Number one is, of course, money. Because we are taking care of a lot of people. Number two is probably expansion, because the clinic is getting too small now. We're taking care of a lot of pediatric patients now. And also recently we expanded our service to ophthalmology and optometry.
Well, I hope the happiness continues for you, Doctor, and thanks for sharing about this event.
Thank you.
And this concludes the 20th anniversary celebration of the Medical Foundation. I'd like to thank all of our guests in this episode for giving us a glimpse of the San Dimas headquarters. And likewise, 360 will have some new and exciting beginnings to share with you this year. Stay tuned for the months to come as we take you on a tour of the 8 remaining chapters of the Tzu Chi Foundation in the USA, with our next stop in my turf, New York. I'm Dimas. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon.
加一直。2块。第一个志愿是什么？众生志愿度。再来一个6度万行。不施世界人路精进禅定智慧。好，66大顺。上人。